Hi, my name is Cyrus Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This is a special MMA Renegade UFC prediction show covering UFC 257. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier, which me and you are excited to see Conor McGregor back in the octagon. Dustin Poirier, same as well. Elijah, how you doing, sir?
Sir, I'm doing fine. I have no complaints at the moment. I actually filled out for two more classes. I'm going to take two more classes in the interim while applying to grad school.
Nice.
And so I got to prep stuff and pay tuition. So there's that. How are you, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I can't complain. This is this is the fight card I think everybody's been waiting for. We've been waiting to see Conor McGregor back. We wanted to see him last year, 2020. You said comeback season in 2020, and we
Yeah.
only really seen one fight from him. And since then, we've seen Khabib Nurmagomedov retire, and is waiting to see what happens after this card. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what happens.
We've seen the sport change not only because of COVID, right? With quarantining and how Dana brought it back with Fight Island and things like that, and you've been working to get the MMA world back together too. But we
Mm,
also saw this last year we saw a shift in the amount of fighters who are not only fighting consistently or more
mhm.
time, more than once in a year, but we also see new talent emerge. We saw the new acquirement of new talent within the UFC. So UFC 257 really is the first pay per view of the year. One, and it's two. It's really the biggest showcase of the lightweight division we have.
Right.
It's like the lightweight division has been on an interesting timetable, and we're just trying to see who really is the cream of the crop with Khabib gone after beating Dustin Gaethje. Now, UFC 257 take place in the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, the famous internationally known fight island, Tyrese. We are getting it on January 24th, this upcoming Saturday. We have the main event, Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Conor McGregor.
Right.
And then in the I wouldn't consider the co-main event, but it's the fight that's happening that has the second most attention on this card is Dan the Hangman Hooker versus Iron Mike Chandler. This is the first fight for Michael Chandler, as unfortunately for him, no one fell out in the fight between Gaethje versus Khabib. He was the
Right.
stand-in, as we know, but Khabib and Gaethje both showed up to Abu Dhabi to fight in this past fall, and we're just here to talk about that Conor McGregor versus Poirier action, brother. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, and again, we're taping this a little bit before the actual event happens. So who knows if something has happened to where Conor McGregor falls out or Dustin
Or
Poirier
Poirier.
falls out.
Yep.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not, because
Hopefully
they'll make
not.
this whole thing useless. But we're here to talk about it. So, and the Michael Chandler one, we both talked about, like, we don't really know what to expect from Michael Chandler.
We don't.
We know that Dan Hooker is really, really good, and we
There's a
know
reason
that
he's a big force in that lightweight division.
right, and we know that in Michael Chandler, he's a little bit older. In Bellator, Bellator's a little bit different in the UFC, but also Michael Chandler has been there for a long time, and he's also had some wars with Eddie Alvarez, that are famous.
Yeah.
So what really is left for Michael Chandler in his career? We're gonna find out Saturday at UFC 257. Sorry, but sticking to Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. Let me ask you this right off the bat: who wins this fight?
The smart bet is Connor.
Hmm.
What we know just from media, from what media is telling us and what Connor has been posting things like that, Connor has been dedicated
All right.
in his approach to this fight. What we saw when Connor is dedicated, we saw a impressive run in the 145 division that consists of a lot of top 10 members in that at that time. We have Dennis Seaver, Dustin Poirier. We have I believe what was the guy who trained not with Akira Kurosani. I forget his name. He trained with Cole Miller at
Mm-hmm.
ATT. I got to go back and check, but he had an impressive Marcus Brimage. Connor had an impressive debut at 145. Dedicated has a documentary
Diego
based on how
Brandao.
well Diego Brandao, that's his name, has an impressive documentary called Notorious, where it details his lead up to the fight with Jose Aldo. And on that list, before he reached Jose Aldo, because Jose Aldo had to pull out from a rib injury, I believe, was the without a doubt one of the top two featherweights of all time at the UFC at that moment. Chad Mendez.
Right.
Chad Mendez, no one wanted to fight him because he had crazy power, good wrestling, and good striking as part of a member of Team Alpha Male. But Aldo and Mendes fought for a second time. That fight went Aldo's way. No one was beating Aldo until Conor showed up. Conor was
Right.
dedicated in that approach. We don't know if we got that same dedication throughout the rest of his career, but we know in that run we had the most dedication we've ever seen in many of the top tier fighters. They say Conor's back to that same method, that same drive. So if by that calculation, Conor should win. But Poirier at 145 is a different breed. This man has beaten everybody placed in his way. Dan Hooker, Justin
155, I mean.
Gaethje. Sorry, now 155. Sorry, I just said 145.
Yes.
All right, 155. Poirier at 155 has become a nightmare for most people. The only
Right.
person he's lost to is Khabib and Michael
Johnson,
exactly.
which is
So,
significant.
which is only 2 losses and I believe maybe 7 fights, maybe 8. And so when you look at that, there's a lot more that has to go on for us to really decide a winner. But when you look at that, the smarter bet is to go Conor. So I'll go Conor for now.
Mhm.
But leading up to this fight, I'm going to be flip-flopping. You know me when it comes to fighters that I love.
I know. I
how
know.
much of a fan I am. Tyrese.
I know.
Who roots for Poirier more than me? Who
No.
roots for Poirier more than me? There
No,
is
I
not a
agree.
single person besides his family, maybe, who roots for Poirier more than me. Poirier was out of that was one of my favorite fighters. I always thought he would do well against Aldo at 145, but he never quite got there. He never quite got there because he lost to Chan Sung Young and he lost to Conor.
Right.
And so the issue was, what happens then? He goes up to 155, goes on a great run, becomes interim champion, but loses to Khabib. I think this fight is a lot closer than people think. And Tyrese, could you tell us why? Or who you think would actually win?
Okay, so I do think this fight is interesting. This fight is not the. I think in ways it's not the same as their first meetup. A lot is different. Dustin Poirier, to me, he's actually grown as a fighter. It seems like he's not as
he's evolved.
Yeah, he's evolved, but he's not as emotional. Like one of the things that used to speak to Dustin Poirier is that in these moments, in these fights, he sometimes get emotional. He'll sometimes, the agitation or the
exchanges,
the confrontations. Yes, the trash talking that will get to Dustin Poirier. Not anymore. Dustin Poirier is a different fighter now. Michael Johnson won, the Conor McGregor one where he lost. Those were times where he was very emotional. He was really angst. He was really anxious to get his hands on them, and it ended in his loss. This is Dustin Poirier, who's a lot older, a lot mature, a lot better in his life than he was before. So I don't see that becoming an issue. Dustin Poirier has also been more active than Conor McGregor has. Dustin Poirier has been more consistent in his abilities. So we have that. Ultimately, though, I think Conor McGregor beats Dustin Poirier, and I think he knocks Dustin Poirier out.
He finishes him. Think it's a finish?
I think he finishes him. Conor McGregor is somebody that I think is overlooked, and even though he's the most profiled fighter on the UFC roster, to me, he also seems like the most underappreciated or underrated fighter on the UFC roster because, looking at his UFC career, like Conor McGregor hasn't really lost to a lot of people. Like, look at his UFC career; it's almost untouchable, except for the Khabib and the Nate Diaz fight. And even the Nate Diaz fight, it was a new weight class.
Those are the only 2 losses in his UFC career. Outside of the organization, he had 1 loss to a guy who got to UFC, Duffy,
Joe Duffy,
it didn't do as well, right?
Right.
So, and that was early in his career. So I agree with you. When people look at losses, I agree with you with that. He's underappreciated in that aspect.
No, not even just that point, but even the Nate Diaz fight, right? Yeah. He avenged that fight, and it was a new weight class. It was 170. It was a new weight class for Nate Diaz, for Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Conor was supposed to fight Rafael dos Anjos. That fight fell through. He fights Nate Diaz, I believe, on 2 weeks' notice. Nate Diaz beats him in the second round by submission. He then says, "No, I want to rematch Nate Diaz again, not at 155 but 170," and does way better in the second fight, to where he actually calculates his strikes a lot more. He's able to, I thought in my mind, clearly win round 1, 2, and 4.
leading up to I guess the fourth round, that was a very close fight, right? Because we didn't
Right.
know, we knew that the grappling was going to, we thought, everyone saw that Conor got submitted, so they thought grappling was his weakness. But what that fight was is that you also saw Conor sweep Nate Diaz.
Right.
Have you, when have you ever seen anybody sweep Nate Diaz or his brother in an actual fight?
Right.
I have never seen that happen. I've seen them people take them down, but I've never seen them sweep them. So
Right.
when we look at, again, I think Conor is underappreciated in a lot of aspects because he's lost and because he's hyping and things like that. Lost to Floyd Mayweather in a different sport, that's fine.
Right.
Lost to Nate Diaz in one fight, came back to win, and he's lost to Khabib, right? When we look at Conor's grappling and things like that, people don't understand that this guy is underrated in that department.
Can I cut you off for 1 second? The Khabib fight. The Khabib fight, which I get roasted all the time about talking about how Conor McGregor is the toughest matchup for Khabib.
Yeah.
But even looking at, and even DC even said the same thing I'm saying. Khabib, toughest opponent to date has been Conor McGregor. His toughest opponent to date has been Conor McGregor. Why is that? Dustin Poirier, it took only 3 rounds, I think, to beat Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Justin Gaethje took him only 2 rounds to beat Justin Gaethje. Conor McGregor, it took Khabib 4 rounds to beat Conor McGregor. And in that 3rd round, Conor McGregor had the best performance of any of Khabib's opponents.
Yeah.
He's able to land on Khabib. He stuffed Khabib's takedowns. He won on judges' scorecards. He won the 3rd round. Nobody has never won a round against Khabib.
Not just one, multiple.
Right.
Multiple. There's 3 judges. More than one judge gave Conor that 3rd round.
Right. Nobody has ever won a round against Khabib. So, call me crazy, call DC crazy, but Conor McGregor is that damn good, and he is that level of fighter. Now, you talk about his level of commitment. That's interesting to see. That he's committed. We've seen in the Cerrone fight, a bit short, he seemed focused and committed like he was in his past fights.
Aldo. Honestly, the way he's like from the lead up to the fight to the actual fight, didn't talk as much smack, right? He talked a little bit, but like nothing too wild, right? He came in, did the job. But the first round, a very important point that we like to point out is that Conor starts fast.
Right.
Conor likes to start fast, right? Conor likes to, he's in, out, side step, jab, trying to make you, he's overwhelming you with too much data. Right. And what he did to Cerrone in the first round, masterpiece, masterful. So having him back in that mindset could be a problem for, I want to say, at least 7 to 8, honestly 8 out of the top 10 people. It's a problem. It's that much of a problem.
I think he's a problem for all lightweights on that roster. That's just his ability. Whether he wins or loses is a different story, but I think he's a problem for all of them. And the thing about Conor McGregor is, I also think him and his coaching team is cerebral. So they took the Nate Diaz fight and said, okay, what can we learn from that? And they took that and they said, okay, we're gonna do something different in the second round. With the second fight, we're gonna conserve our energy a little bit more and pick our shots a little bit more at this new weight class. In this Dustin Poirier rematch, what game plans does Conor McGregor have in store if he already beat Dustin Poirier before? So what is just knowing his camp, what can they see from that first fight that they can replicate again in the second fight? And also, Dustin Poirier has been more active. He's taken more punishment lately.
So much more footage of Poirier.
Yeah, so there's more evidence and more data on Dustin Poirier, so that the coaching team of Conor McGregor, SBG Ireland, that we know are cerebral at this game. What can they look at in this fight of Dustin Poirier and say, okay, we can exploit this. There's so much on Dustin Poirier. Conor McGregor, he's almost untouchable, almost in the UFC.
I'll say this. This fight kind of has, you when you think about it, right? Like Poirier has to rise because he has to break past the 145 Poirier, who lost the 145 Conor. Right. Poirier has made he has evolved bounds and leaps, in my opinion, from his 145 days. Not
Right.
only because his takedown defense is significant, it was good at 145, but it's significantly better because he has the weight to block him in the power. But his striking has gotten a little bit better as well with his boxing, his in boxing, his outboxing. He throws up leg kicks now, likes to throw body kick. He likes to mix it up a little bit more. But again, when fighting a guy like Conor, sometimes it's not enough to just evolve. You
Right.
have, like Conor said, you have to have some attributes in order to beat him. You have to, because if you don't, Conor makes it. He literally will. Conor will dismantle you,
Right.
and that's the best part about Conor. So if we're getting a focused Conor, I go Conor all the way. Round doesn't make it to maybe doesn't make it past round 3 if we're lucky. Round 2 most likely, but with Poirier has all. I don't see a reason as to why he can't win. I really don't like. Before it was like, ooh, like Conor's got the momentum. It's like, right, there's more momentum on Poirier's side if we're realistically looking at it. Conor has momentum, but Poirier has a lot more riding on it. He's been more active. He's coming off an impressive fight with Dan Hooker, for which he won performance of the night for, right, or
Right.
fight of the night. So he's got that going for him. But I wonder if that's enough to beat Conor, because Conor's just that damn good.
Right.
That's
Right.
the issue. It would be different if Conor really didn't know how to fight. But Conor, that Irishman, that man's good. The man's
He is
good.
good. He's the man. The boy's good. The boy's good.
The boy's good. The boy's good. So it looks like we're both going
Conor,
Conor.
right? Yes.
We're
Okay.
both going Conor, and I believe you're going to go finish round 1.
I don't know if it's finished round 1. But I think he does not come. Not. I think he does finish Dustin Poirier. I don't. Okay, so now I want to discuss this. More into the actual fight itself. When looking at Dustin Poirier, one of the things I've noticed is, he's good, really good. He does.
Yeah, sorry, good.
As fighting against southpaws, it does get a little bit tricky.
That's the point. That's the point you can bring up. Perfect.
The Jim Miller fight he had, Dustin Poirier was winning a lot of them. Was winning a lot of the exchanges. Couldn't get Jim Miller out of there though. Mm-hmm. It was a lot tougher. The Michael Johnson one, the angling of Michael Johnson's strikes was able to land on Dustin Poirier. One of the things about Conor McGregor is he has an ability with his stance. And you've seen it in the fight against Dustin Poirier itself. Is he'll get out of there. Like he'll bounce with you and then slide out, and he'll cut angles with you. So where Dustin Poirier,
it's not a weird. Sorry, not to cut you off, but it's like it's weird, right? Because it's if you really look at it, Conor has a boxing base with a karate stance,
right?
A slightly karate stance. So it's like a very interesting combination how he makes them. But go ahead, sorry.
No, yeah, and with Dustin Poirier, one of the things that's also interesting about him is he had his lead leg out. And that's one of the things I took notes on, is that the lead leg of Dustin Poirier is always acceptable to leg kicks.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Conor McGregor, with his stance, he'll blast the leg kicks, like especially in his fight with Dustin Poirier, he'll blast the leg kicks that will make it harder for Dustin Poirier to move and that will catch Dustin Poirier off guard in terms of strikes.
Yeah.
If he'll go to the legs first and then lose the power of Dustin Poirier punches, lose that sting at lightweight, and then if he works his way up, he go head kicks to the top.
Yeah.
And again, like one of the things for Dustin Poirier is the southpaw stance. When we talk about Michael Johnson, with the angle of Michael Johnson's punches, it was fast, it was quick. With Conor McGregor, he cuts angles. So like, if Dustin Poirier, who honestly is a traditional boxer, he has a traditional boxing stance, if he is out of positioning, which Conor McGregor will look to abuse.
Yeah.
And Conor McGregor takes punches as well. Again, we talk about the freshness of Conor McGregor. Hasn't really been in a lot of wars as Dustin Poirier has. Doesn't really have the mileage that Dustin Poirier has. So Conor McGregor can still take a punch and eat a punch. Can Dustin Poirier take those punches from Conor McGregor? Is going to be the question.
At 155, I think he has a better chance than at 145. But the question is, how many can he take? The question is always, how many can you take? Now, if it's never really just one with Conor, right? It's one followed by just one more, maybe one just by two more to put them away, right? We always see that. If it's one, the only time we saw the one was Jose Aldo.
Right.
But with Conor, he's setting up. So I wonder if the game plan is to set up for the long run for a knockout finish, or to get him out of there as quick as possible. Because that's also a thing about Conor McGregor, right? He likes
Right.
to lay these traps. And Conor can do it in what, like the Marcus Brimage fight. The beautifulness of, because he saw Marcus Brimage with going to, dipping and going low. He
Right.
ended up with these uppercuts. With Dennis Seaver, he ended up hitting him with body kicks. It's marvelous to see Conor at work. But with Poirier's attribute, he's tougher at 155 than he's been at 145, and that's been evident.
That's
You
true.
can see that he's been in a lot of wars, and I'm sure that takes a toll. But realistically, he has the experience now where he's like, all right, I'm not getting hurt. He seems to be in a more mature, like, I'm not getting caught into like, oh, I'll beat Conor or whatever, or I can stop this next upcoming guy, like with the whole ATT, Conor, like, oh, like I'll beat anybody there. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's just, I'm gonna go Conor, but I'm not surprised if Poirier has the tools to make it last. He has everything needed to get the job done.
Yeah, he does. And the thing about Dustin Poirier is that he's been through the wars. He's been through the fire. He's tried and tested. And if you're talking about going the distance, Dustin Poirier is the safest bet.
Safest.
Dustin Poirier is also somebody that doesn't you're not going to break Dustin Poirier.
He's a dog.
It's gonna be impossible to break Dustin Poirier. So all the trash talking and stuff like that today, Dustin Poirier is not gonna get to him.
Nope, it doesn't. He's not this. He's matured as a fighter, and we've seen that. When they thought he was going to break in the Gaethje fight, he didn't. When they thought he was going to break in the Alvarez fight, he didn't.
No.
This is something that everyone's talked about, Daniel Cormier. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I've always been a Poirier fan, but unfortunately, he's going up against a guy who I think is probably one of the best ever to do it in the lightweight division and 145 division. But we'll see.
I am interested in this also. We haven't seen Conor. Last time we seen Conor McGregor at 155 was Eddie Alvarez. Similar to that, I think the Mayweather fight was around 155, 150 as well in the boxing range. Maybe 156.
I think it was 156.
So with Conor McGregor at 155, I think you get a better Conor McGregor. I think you get a Conor McGregor that is not carrying too much weight, and I think is a little bit more conditioned well.
Faster, good power, maybe not as much power as he has at 170, right? But you're getting them with a faster Conor, a healthy Conor. Conor doesn't cut much weight, so he's not sucking his body out, right?
Right.
Then you have to deal with the hand speed, the technique, the cardio. Conor, again, at 155 is perfect. Conor is on the smaller side when it comes to 155,
right?
But he more than makes up for it in technique. And
I think he gets out of there a lot quicker. Like he's again the punching power of Conor McGregor. It may not to me. It's more precision. It's more precision than actual punching power. To where Conor McGregor will he will be able to tag him.
Yeah.
On the outside. And by the way, they're both the same height. Both same reach. Again, for me, the thing about Conor McGregor is just the southpaw stance. I think the southpaw stance of Conor McGregor and his stance overall, his boxing but karate type stance, I think that gives problems to Dustin Poirier, to where angles and where Dustin Poirier has to be able to trap Conor McGregor, I think it's going to give him issues. And I think Dustin Poirier can't take. He has to be mindful of the shots he take, and Conor McGregor can roll with those punches too, just like Dustin Poirier can.
Agreed. Now the thing is, though, is the Poirier who has power. Conor hasn't had that power that Poirier. He probably hasn't been hit by power like that before. If I'm being he's probably fought some really heavy hitters in training camps or whatnot. But again, Poirier at 155, the power he has, and it's not one punch knockout power, but it's significant enough to stagger people.
Right.
So the biggest thing for Poirier is he has to watch out for Conor's form. You're right, 100%. And, we talked about this boxing, such karate-like stance in and out, but so many creative tools as opposed to just being a good boxer in that southpaw form. That's the biggest threat to Poirier, right? But the one thing I can say that Poirier's changed is the power. So if Conor can adjust to the power, because Conor did get hit in that first, in that 145 exchange.
He did.
If Conor gets tagged, we got to know. Khabib caught him. Khabib dropped him. There's no reason to say that Poirier can't. A guy who's arguably better, who's better in striking than Khabib, right? Like, it just depends on how those angles are cut, who gets there first in those exchanges, and whose hands are that much quicker.
Yeah, I think Dustin Poirier again. He has the power. I think the power really comes from his combinations. And
Yeah,
the thing about Conor McGregor, I don't know if those combinations will be there with that stance.
yeah.
Dustin
Again,
Poirier
that's the
has
way.
to get Conor. I think the one thing Dustin Poirier, the two things I would say Dustin Poirier could do. One, I would say attack the legs. Attack the
Yeah,
legs early, low calf kicks. Maybe we see Max Holloway do it on Saturday.
yeah.
I would love to see Max Holloway. I mean Dustin Poirier do kind of those side kicks to the knee, slow down the movement of Conor McGregor, make sure he can't move as gingerly as he can. And then I would love to see him mix it up, not just be a brawler,
Mix
mix
up
up
the
with
takedowns.
kicks, mix
Mix
with
up.
the takedowns.
I want.
Yes,
I threaten the takedown. We don't want you to wrestle with Conor. We want Conor to make it seem that you now have another way to beat him. He has
right.
to cover all. Conor has to think he has to. Conor has to be overloaded almost in order to beat him. And it's
Make it a
very
dog fight.
Yeah, you got to make it ugly for Conor. Clinch. You got to do
Right,
what you got to do, right? The thing that was impressive about the fight with Dan Hooker was that when he got Dan Hooker against the cage,
right,
he landed these weird hits like this, right?
right,
He landed these interesting angled shots, and with enough power can be annoying, so it causes someone to make the mistake.
right,
You have to bring that back in
right,
order to beat Conor.
right.
That's it. That's all I could say. But
Yeah, I think we're both. I think we both give Dustin Poirier a chance in this fight. I think we
we
both
do.
think Dustin Poirier can can make it ugly, can make it physical, can bring the dog out of Conor McGregor, and we both think he is a credible opponent as him being a former champion.
Yep.
But I think we're both on the same mindset that we just think that Conor McGregor is just
The guy.
the guy and maybe a tough puzzle to crack, especially now motivated, now focused at 155, which we could argue is his best weight class. And he
Yeah.
seems motivated, and he seems like if he beats Dustin Poirier, he's either next in line to face Khabib or he's next in line for a title shot.
And to be honest with you, those two things are the same thing.
Yeah,
Those two
yeah,
things are the same thing.
yeah. So I'm excited. I'm ready for it. Elijah, you can say the same thing.
Brother, I can't say that word, but I was about to say, I was about to say it, but like, motherfucker, yo, you know me. I live for this. I live and breathe it.
Right.
I think what's been great about us is that not only have we always say this, I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we've got to the point where not only are we becoming much more analytical about
Right.
the things that we're saying and like how we're reviewing fights, right? We're no longer just like, oh, that's a good fight because they fight in. It's like, oh, that's a setup for later. Look at that. He's supposed to do that in this position, right? So with the knowledge we've gained, it's just like it gets crazier. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying is it gets crazier. And it gets
Yeah.
much more enjoyable to watch all these shows.
And let's think on Dustin Poirier. One thing I would love to see Dustin Poirier do and utilize is the body shots. I would love to see him go to the body. He's been doing it a lot more, and that Daniel Hooker fight especially. I would love to see him go to the body, especially and if he gets him in the clinch position against the cage, make it a dog fight. Go against the body, take the gassing out of Conor McGregor. To again,
Early.
we question if Conor McGregor could go those 5 rounds.
That's it, and maybe he can if he's dictating the pace.
Right.
Maybe
Exactly.
he can if he's dictating
Exactly.
the pace. Poirier has the power to do it. He knows what needs to be done.
Right.
Question is, how does it get done?
Right. So I can't wait. We will be doing a review Sunday the day after, talking about Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. It will be at 10:30 in the morning Eastern time. So again, if you want to get this content, you gotta click the bell, gotta subscribe, gotta share with your friends. Let us know what you think, man. We do this because we love it. We love communicating with you guys. We love talking about fights. We're fans at the end of the day.
We honestly, this is even if we didn't have Tyrese's show, this is what we would be doing. This is
Yeah.
literally what we'd be doing. So realistically, if it's a platform to not only connect people like us to talk and connect people who are fans, it's worth it. Join up, like, subscribe, share.
Exactly. And if you are watching this video and you look at the description, you may also see a link to the Discord. That's something that I am working on. I hope that for UFC 257, we could get together and watch it as a family. I would love to do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
So definitely look out for that. So I can't wait. Elijah can't wait. We'll be back Sunday to talk about Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. If we're right or wrong, we'll either be talking about how wrong we are or how brilliant we are. So
if we're right, I'm gonna be like this. I'm off the pod, motherfucker.
All right, signing off. My name is Cyrus Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This has been a special UFC 257 preview. Have a nice day, guys. Enjoy the fights, and we will see you on Sunday.